So that Amma, huh? Real piece of work.
Yeah, I bet Emma's the one that left the empty milk container in the fridge too, that psychopath.
In HBO's new miniseries, Sharp Objects, journalist Camille Preaker returns to her hometown of Windgap, Missouri to investigate the murder of one teenage girl and the kidnapping of another. What she soon discovers is that her own haunting childhood in Windgap may hold the key to stopping these vicious crimes. So, Aaron, I have to credit you. You are the one who put me on to Sharp Objects. And after the series finale, what are your overall thoughts on the series as a whole and also the final episode?
I absolutely love the series. I mean, from the first episode, I was just captivated, and I couldn't really take my eyes off the screen. A lot of people were saying, I heard on like Twitter, and some people are like, oh, it's boring, but I feel like it's not the show where you can be distracted on your phone or anything. You have to get lost in the atmosphere, and it's almost like a hypnotic state when you're watching the show. It's beautifully acted. Technically, it's near flawless. The direction is unbelievable. And I think the most impressive thing about the series is just the acting throughout the whole show from top to bottom. It is unbelievable. Obviously, Amy Adams is incredible. That's what really got me into the show because I didn't really know much about it going in. I just heard Amy Adams is doing an HBO series, and I was like, all right, 100%. I'm watching the first episode. Because every time you get like a McConaughey or Woody Harrelson with True Detective with Big Little Lies, you have Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman, you know, like these big names are going to do an HBO show. It's going to be amazing. And she did not disappoint. And I think the most amazing thing is Eliza Scanlon is kept up with her the whole time, and Patricia Clarkson, who's absolutely wonderful. And this young actress was just on par with these two giants in the acting world, and it was wonderful to see. And what each individual actor brought to their character just made it, I think, 100 times better for the audience as well. I don't think there's one bad performance in this. And even Chris Messina as Detective Richard Willis, and Taylor John Smith as John Keane, too. Especially in the finale, when he's in the interrogation room, I thought he delivered a great scene. And there really isn't a weak point in the whole series.
Yeah, and I think because she doesn't have any speaking roles in the series, I think she might go under the radar, but Sophia Lillis from It, who played Beverly Marsh, just a great job in her scenes to bring that character to life. You could just see the screen presence she has.
Even whoever played Marion Crellin, Lulu Wilson.
Lulu Wilson, the creepy girl from the Ouija series.
She says like maybe three sentences the whole series, but the visual performance is unreal, and it added to that atmosphere, that vibe that the whole show had throughout the series, which was, like I said before, almost mesmerizing.
And Elizabeth Perkins as Aunt Jackie, as I like to call her.
Aunt Jackie.
She had that shrine to herself in her home.
That's like Parks and Rec, who is it, Joan Calamezzo, when they go to bring her home and she has the fucking portrait or something.
Yeah, very similar.
Actually, yeah. Wow.
But yeah, I agree with everything you just said, and I think on a more technical level, the three things that really stood out to me were the editing, the sound editing, and the sound mixing, just the use of sound overall. But the job that the editors did with this series, it was just incredible. And you have to give credit to Jean-Marc Vallée, the director of Sharp Objects. He directed every single episode, and he's known for movies like Dallas Buyers Club and Demolition, and he also edits his films under a pseudonym named John Mac McMurphy. The editing is just so flawless. It shifts between striking or seamless. The cuts were, at times, they were very artistic, they were quick and to the point. They were usually aided by some sort of sound during the transition between different scenes. And the striking cuts, they were kind of like jump scares at times, but they weren't necessarily scary. Sometimes they could be more unsettling, whether it's a moving shadow or a flashback or a flicker from the past, a deceased character or a hallucination. Everything was done with great artistic precision. And you talked about how the show kind of has this hypnotic trance that it puts over you, and the sound editing in particular had a hypnotic effect on me. The accentuation of every little sound, every little crack, creak, car door slam, foot in the woods, broken branch, it all contributed to the eerie atmosphere of Windgap. And the cinematography, the look of the show, the way that the show is composited, it kind of has this swampy, gritty, grassy feel where at times it does look very beautiful, but when you kind of dig deeper, it's kind of disgusting, and that's what they're really going for. It kind of represents what the Krellin family is, and they're basically royalty in this southern Gothic kingdom, and we've all seen towns like this in fiction before, the town that's split between the old money, the rich people, and kind of the middle-class subjects. But it's a town that does feel very familiar. And also the use of pre-recorded music. I greatly appreciated Camille Preaker's love for Led Zeppelin II. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. I think it's one of the best albums of all time. And also the introduction for the opening credits, for each episode had a different version of the same song. They got different artists to kind of craft and put their own flavor on this introduction, and each track is so well produced. And also we have to give credit to Gillian Flynn, of course, the author of the Sharp Objects novel, her debut novel in 2006. She's also written other famous novels, most notably Gone Girl, which was adapted in 2014 into a feature film by David Fincher. But yeah, just an incredible world that she built, and this is the way that these stories should be told, through a miniseries, an 8-hour movie. You don't go past the book, you don't go past the story you are given, and if you do it correctly, and with the proper artistic flavor, you might have a masterpiece on your hands. But I think when we're talking about the finale, a good place to start would be the very end, when it is revealed that Amma is the killer. And it's such a great ending because people have said that the book goes beyond this moment. But I think ending this miniseries, this 8-episode miniseries, where they're not going to do a season 2, that final scene is just so powerful.
Yeah, it's incredible, too. Just the emotion Amy Adams has on her face. Like, we talk about how good she was in this role, but the visual performance and the emotion she shows just by that glance over to Amma. And a lot of people were tweeting about it and just saying how in awe they were of that. It's a very powerful moment. It gave me chills right away. And then the Led Zeppelin right after was just chilling. The way I always love like when a show has like a shock ending or something crazy happens at the end and they play a music that kind of contradicts what you're supposed to be feeling and enhances it in a way, and then right into that mid-credit scene. Man, that was pretty brutal.
Don't tell Mama.
Yeah, the mid-credit scenes were terrifying, and I think you could have just ended it with that final scene, but the mid-credit scenes did add to the ending for me, because just watching Amma, the way that they're sped up, where you can't really see what's going on, but you could see the rage in her face. And like you said, an incredible performance by that actress, Eliza Scanlon, who's not even American, she's Australian, and she's just a star in the making.
She's going to be in a new movie, I forgot the name, but with like heavy hitters like Meryl Streep,
Little Women?
Emma Watson. Yeah, Little Woman. We'll be seeing more of her, probably.
Yeah,
even beyond that as well.
They had to replace Emma Stone with Emma Watson.
Hmm.
It's like the Emma understudy, but whatever. Back to Sharp Objects.
Yeah.
But to take it back to the beginning of this episode, that everything has been culminating in the revelation that Adora was going to be the killer. Because we see Detective Richard Willis, that he went back, digging in Camille Preaker's past, and he discovered that Adora was responsible for the death of Marion. This whole episode, if I had to describe it with one word, I would say anxiety. As soon as she walks into her mother's house and sits down at that dinner table, I had no idea what was going to happen. And I was scared for Camille's life.
It's like that this whole series, though. I mean, this one actually has more stakes because she knows she's staring the killer, her mother, right in the face, who she suspects killed Marianne and the other two girls. But just the way the show is able to create tense moments, I haven't really felt this way. I had a viewing experience like this. Even simple scenes like from the funeral and things like that, where she gets put in these situations where you kind of feel it through her point of view. It's almost claustrophobic, it feels like, where you kind of don't really want to see what happens next. But yeah, this whole scene was Amma with that flower crown, man. That's just screaming, hey, I killed two girls. It's great imagery, but it's so creepy, man. And I always felt like Amma was the obvious choice because just how creepy she was throughout the series in her introduction and just the way her mannerisms and all that. But I always thought it was a red herring for Adora, and they always try to throw like little things that would make you think otherwise, like she couldn't pull the teeth, she couldn't move the bodies. There's no way that she would be capable of doing something like that.
Yeah, it was kind of the reverse red herring, where, like you said...
But Adora, it kind of doubled it up on us.
Right, exactly. And just the relationship between Camille and Adora throughout the whole season, the tension that's been between them. And there's the one scene in episode 5 where Adora tells Camille why she never loved her, because she was too much like her father. And what we learned here is that Adora has Munchausen syndrome by proxy. She poisons her children so that they need her, so that she's there to take care of them. And it's this mental disorder that they all seem to have some sort of mental illness in this family. But we learned that the reason that she didn't love Camille is because Camille would never subject to Adora's illness, that she never allowed her to poison her or to treat her like a helpless child. But yeah, the dynamic between all three of them is one of the best parts of the show. I mean, all three actresses, people were saying on Twitter that they're all going to just sweep the Emmys next year when they're nominated.
Well, yeah, and this is when we see just the protective nature of Camille having that loss of Marianne, where she at first she wants to bring Amma to St. Louis to protect her from Adora. And when she realizes she's not getting anywhere with that, she pretends to be sick as a way to either confirm her suspicion, take Adora's attention away from Amma and protect her, or I guess as a guinea pig to show proof of what's happening. But yeah, she lets Adora care for her. When you actually see it play out the way it is, when you already can see Amma how just off and distraught she looks. As we learn later, she's used to it. And we see like the actual effects on Camille throughout this episode and what really happens to her. And
it had me feeling weak the entire episode. I felt physically weak watching this because when you're in that state where you're essentially, she's turning her daughters into zombies. And like you said, where they confirm at the end that Amma became almost immune to the poison that Adora was using. But just the struggle of Camille trying to escape from the house, trying to get in contact with Richard, who was the one who actually found out that Adora was doing this to her daughters and gave the information to Camille in episode 7. It was just such an intense struggle, and it kind of exemplifies what this series was. It was a very slow burn throughout her struggle of trying to escape Adora's grasp.
Yeah, it exemplifies just Camille's storyline as a whole from her perspective, because I felt like midway through the season where I think some people might have found it was boring, like, oh, there's no really new information regarding the killer. It wasn't really a whodunit for me anymore. It was more about Camille's character and how she's going to be able to overcome. And I feel like we get a lot of perspective from the outside where, you know, she has all these scars and she's seemingly damaged. And I feel like most people would view her the way Adora does, as she reflects like she's ruined, like she's broken. The way she's able to overcome all this stuff shows her true nature and risks her life to save her sister, who really she doesn't know, or she barely, I'm not even sure she even really liked, but more of just protecting her as she wished she should have for Marianne.
And like you said, I was actually satisfied with the end result of who is the killer, because it did catch me by surprise. It's not a whodunit. It's an exploration of the pain that is shared between these three women and an exploration of mental illness and what that can do to a family. And a lot of people complain that, a lot of book readers complain that they didn't go past that final scene and explore why Amma did this. And there's a quote from the book where it goes, "You could come up with 4,000 other guesses, of course, about why Amma did it. In the end, the fact remains Amma enjoyed hurting. I like violence," she shrieked at me. "I blame my mother. A child weaned on poison considers harm a comfort." So that's really what it is. To be honest, I almost wish that I didn't see that quote, because I guess you can kind of assume that for yourself. We talked about this on a podcast the other day, ambiguous endings. In a way, it is ambiguous in terms of Amma's motivations, but you can come to those conclusions on your own.
It's interesting, too, because we learned more about Adora in that bathtub scene where she tells how her mother brought her into the woods and left her there. So it's kind of a movie we've seen this year, like Hereditary, where it's just this line of mental illness where it affects each generation going forward. Like Curry says, you win the fucked up family Olympics.
Yeah. And we see it again where the cycle restarts when Camille takes in Amma. And that's what you made the point earlier, that Adora was caught too early in the episode. I guess they did that on purpose to kind of let the audience in on this isn't over. I guess people could have been anticipating a happy ending between Camille and Amma, that they went on to live in St. Louis and they kind of had to deal with the struggle of their mother being the killer together. But it leaves it open. And that dinner scene, when she's sitting down with Curry and it's Camille and it's Amma and it's Amma's new friend, May, you could see that jealousy once again develop inside of Amma, because everybody is showing attention to May, and it's what Adora did to the two girls that Amma killed. She was showing them attention.
It is sad, but even before that, too, when Curry's reading Camille's piece to her, that was such a powerful scene, too. That one gave me chills. When he says, when she says, "I'm forgiving myself for trying to save my sister and giving myself over to raising the other."
Yeah, she was fully committed.
And I kind of wanted to see, like, you know, happy ending, they'll play out.
It's interesting that Amma had this idea that it's almost like Amma makes a deal with Adora. You're allowed to poison me. I'll be your little girl, your helpless little girl, as long as you keep the attention on me. I don't want you tutoring any other girls. I don't want you involved with anybody else. Your focus needs to be on me. And that's what leads Amma to kill. It's a combination of that, and it's a combination of what they say in the book, that she just enjoys violence.
Yeah, and it sticks with her. And also with Adora, too. Like, say the prosecution argued that she killed with kindness, probably out of some kind of plea agreement or anything. If you admit, like, oh, you killed out of kindness, maybe. And Adora accepted it, and she fell on that sword, Camille says. So even facing jail time and all this in the public eye, she would still has that sickness where she wants to be seen caring. And if it could be spun to killing with kindness, to her, I guess it makes it look better.
Yeah. And you said earlier about Chris Messina, his performance as Richard Willis. This is an actor, too, he's been around for a decade. But in this show, he had the opportunity to show that he is one of the better actors working today, and I hope he gets more roles. His relationship with Camille was also fascinating, and it's a little cliche at the beginning. You have the outsider reporter who's from the town. You have the outside detective, the big city, big shot detective. You know that they're going to link up. But the way that they handled their relationship, and when they introduced the affair, I guess you can call it, with John Keane, that's what made the relationship so fucked up.
I think the strongest part of the series was Camille's relationships with the different people and how she acted, just her different experiences with them. I think definitely with Detective Willis was one of the strongest ones. I liked her and Alice, the flashbacks, that gave a lot of insight to her character. But with Willis, I mean, I felt like it was just... Did you like the way it ended, where it just kind of...
I do.
They seemingly just go their separate ways.
But just to go in the book again, she says in the book, Richard never contacted me again. Yeah. And she kind of blames it on not necessarily her sleeping with John Keane, which I'm not sure if she does in the book. The fact that Richard saw her body, and it was kind of just an outward representation of what's going on inside of Camille. That's what she blamed it on. I guess we never get Richard's perspective, but it seems like a relationship that can't continue. It's kind of hard to brush all that stuff off and join into a loving relationship with that person.
He seemed kind of like off too. I mean, he's obviously very jealous, and especially when he finds her with Keane. But even when they first hook up, I guess, when she's taking him around to the different areas where all the tragic stuff happened in the woods, and then he tries to make a move at her. On her at the shed. I mean, she kind of received it, but I was like, it's a little off.
Yeah, I think it's just
Willis. He's just
the experiences that he has are just so far off from what Camille has experienced in her life that I guess it's a character fault. I think you would be hesitant to get into a relationship with a woman like Camille Preaker after what you've just seen her family go through.
I feel like that just shows from the offset, just a disconnect that he would have to someone like Camille.
Yeah.
Where he sees her as a new reporter in town, attractive, and they're kind of just working together. When he digs deeper, it kind of, I guess, scares him off a little. And again, when he finds her with John Keane in the motel, he's quick to just dismiss her and kind of not really understand why she would do something like that. He doesn't really get what's going on with her.
Yeah, he kind of just narrows it down to she's a slut.
Yeah.
Which is a very simple-minded view as to the problems that Camille is going through. It's not her past. It's not what's happened with her family. She's a slut. And I guess at that point, him not knowing the true history, but at that point, he knows that Adora killed...
He knows enough.
Yeah, right. So I think it's almost a character fault, and that's what this show is. It's just a bevy of complex characters who all have their demons.
There was very few decent characters.
What about Vickery?
Yeah, I mean,
he's another one where you're not sure. That's an ambiguous end to his role in all of this.
I guess he was just...
banging the door.
Yeah, but I thought he had more to do with it. I thought he was helping out, but seemingly not, so... I had no idea what to think of him, but...
At the end of the day, he's just
even Jackie, too. At first, she's the only one that actually Camille seems to like.
Yeah.
And can actually talk to and be herself around. And it turns out she's very...
fake.
Yeah.
Just kind of fake. Knew what Adora was doing the whole time and kept it from her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not too many decent characters.
But Curry.
Oh, Curry's the fuck.
I love that guy, yeah. And I really find it interesting, the idea of a person's demons becoming tangible. Camille Preaker has been trying to outrun her demons, but they're not just intangible memories. It's actually a physical place. It's Windgap. It's her childhood. It's the fact that she was rejected by her family, her loneliness, her depression, the harm that she does to herself, the outward scars that are not just living inside of her. And you could see that disconnect that she has from not only her family, but from this town, from this society. It's hard for her to reconcile with a town that has caused her so much pain. And it's a really interesting way, it's an interesting angle, the way they tackled that mental illness that she holds, and the relationship with her family, and the performances, once again, Patricia Clarkson, the breakout performance by Eliza Scanlon, who... she just has this unsettling charisma and charm, and she has the unique ability where she can play mature and also vulnerable within the same scene, where she can be that old soul, very commanding, very manipulative, very charming, and easy to get people to do her bidding, but she can also play the innocent girl, and that's a rare talent. But yeah, all the elements and the themes that make up this show, it was just very refreshing the way they tackled it. So out of 10, I would probably give this series a 9.5. I think it's near flawless. There are some episodes that maybe aren't as good as others, but I would have to really kind of sit back and nitpick it. I don't think it's a 10 out of 10 for me, but it was excellent. I loved it. It's probably my favorite show, my favorite series of the year so far.
Yeah, I think it's very close to a 10 as well. I mean, technically, it's perfect. It's, anything from the editing to the cinematography to direction is just flawless. The performances are perfect as well. And yeah, I can see what you're saying. Sometimes in the middle, you might have wanted to pick up just a little bit, but I think it was a nice slow burn, and it made the ending just well worth it.
So what do you think that we should watch next?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I was so captivated with this one. Just the themes, the atmosphere, the acting, the mystery. I don't think I can go back to watching, like, Seinfeld or Parks and Rec. I need something like this. Similar.
Well, I hear Castle Rock is very similar.
I don't know. I don't think I'll like it too much. And I don't have Hulu. It's a whole thing, you know. Commercials, passwords. I'm more of a Netflix guy myself.
All right, I'll just have Teddy review it.
I'll watch it.
Okay.